Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Connect Mór Podcast. On this podcast, we'll be talking about our journey as a startup, and we'll also bring on experts in their fields to talk about marketing, AI, and other interesting topics. This week is the first podcast, so you get to meet the founders of Connect Mór, and we'll talk about why we're building a marketing platform, some of the challenges we've faced so far, and what the plans are for the future. I hope you enjoy.
So I guess for the first episode of the podcast, we're gonna talk about what Connect More really is and what consists of Connect More and what are the different ideas that Connect More presents out to the world and the team. Talk about you guys being the founders and how did you really come about thinking about Connect More and what are your views and your goals when it comes to the vision of Connect More. Definitely why the name Connect More. So we'll talk about it, but I guess we'll start with just knowing about James first. We'll start with James. Let's see what James has to say about his journey and what he has been up to his life before Connect More. James, up to you now.
My name is James. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Connect Mór. Before I was working with Connect Mór, so I did computer science in college and then got a job working at a quantitative trading firm as an engineer and was there for a couple of years. Moved to Salesforce also as an engineer. In terms of like how I ended up doing that, I went to college because I wanted to make video games. About halfway through college, I realized that you don't get paid much and you work very long hours. So then I almost dropped out of computer science, but I got a job working for a finance company as an intern and like that. So then I didn't drop out and worked there after college. I was actually the last person. Fun fact: I was actually the last person to get into my university that year out of everyone because I got in on the fourth or fifth round of offers after winning a lottery. So that's how I got into computer science, and that's kind of my path, I guess. This boring sounds very this opening sounds quite boring, but like that's the story, I suppose.
That's James' life.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I won't say it's very interesting, but I guess that's the story of life with everyone. How they end up doing something which wasn't really expected out of them to do,
Yeah, sure.
Like it's said, mostly the startups happen when a working person from 9 to 5 job gets bored of the job and then they think, okay, either it's MBA or either it's a startup. One of them.
That was the logic. Actually, I was like, if I do like a master's or whatever, I'm gonna be like pretty poor at the end of it, and I think I want to work for myself. So I'll just figure out instead of doing like an MBA, I'll just try and run a business and just figure it out, and then I'll have the same skills or close enough at the end of it. Hopefully, I have a successful business, and then if I don't, I can still get a job like as like a manager in a tech company or something, and go from there.
Still would have a lot of experience though, because startups not easy, not at all.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but it's fun though, so that's the main thing. You get to do podcasts.
Yeah, you get to do your own podcast. That's a good thing. You don't have to be the guest.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Brendan. Brendan, what's your story been?
Yeah, so I have a degree in computer and electronic engineering. I got that from GMIT in Galway. After college, I went to San Francisco for a year to have a look at Silicon Valley and what kind of that offers. I worked with a consulting firm over there. It was pretty interesting. Like working with doing IT consulting for financial firms. That kind of led me then onto my second job then with Susquehanna International Group, which is the place where Jane worked as well, the quantitative trading firm. Yeah, that's pretty much been my kind of working life so far.
The first time me and Brendan met outside work actually was we don't even working together like a week or two, and I'd given Brendan my number vaguely that like day or something. Like no, I don't know if there was a specific or no, it was like he was going drinking with his friends and I was going drinking with my friends from college, and we were like, oh, we might like bump into each other or something. And then I got a call from Brendan at like 11:30 that night, and he was like, "Are you still out?" and I didn't even know him. I had like one conversation with him at this point, and I was talking to a friend from college. Like, I think that a guy that I work with is coming to the pub, and Brendan rocked up absolutely twisted drunk. Yeah, and that was like the first time we actually like properly talked to each other.
I guess that night Brendan really want to go home. He was like, want to get more.
Yeah, it was a Friday evening. Now we were just going out. With some of the guys, and everybody else was like going home early, and I was just getting started, and I was like, right, well, James is probably still out. So.
TJ, tell us about you. What's your deal? What's your background? Why are you here?
Oh, it's I came here to Ireland. It's gonna be a couple of years in September. Actually, it's been a couple of years. I came here to do my masters. I have completed my masters I did it from Trinity. It's in marketing. Hence, I'm the marketing manager of Connect Mór, because there's no other person, so I have to be the manager. That's how the folks. Those are the perks of working in a startup. You just get to the head post directly. So yeah, it's been a couple of years. It's been a great ride. Not very great as in terms of jobs and stuff, because COVID happened and everything's happened. That's why we are having this podcast, not sitting in the same room, but rather different places, recording it over Zoom.
Yeah.
I got to touch in with Connect Mór actually through it was a startup based out of Trinity called COVID Interns, and it's not a paid post, but those guys are great. They are really helping students out there who are really in need of getting in touch with companies, which just like Connect Mór, young startups, young companies who need to get in touch with new graduates, people who are looking for opportunities. So they really get in touch with those people and help them get an opportunity. So that's how I got in touch with Connect Mór, and I got in touch with James and Brendan. That was the day, and here we are. It's been a good time past. We have done a lot of stuff, and we're planning to do a lot more and get this thing really going in the future. That's how my story is.
Yeah, it's almost 3 months now.
Almost 3 months.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And I would say every day is a learning day. Every day I get to learn new thing from you guys, or from working on the projects we have, making creatives, doing the strategies, marketing strategies, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You've like a bit of cool experience as well. I mean, you've been involved with startups before as well, so
that's really one thing which I think about startups is you have things under your control. And the best thing about startups is it's just that your hands are into everything. One day you could have a difficulty. Okay, there's a difficulty related to marketing. Second day it would be a technical difficulty. Third day it would be a logistic difficulty. Fourth day could be another difficulty. So you get to learn everything every day, because you have to manage everything, because there's not 50 people working under you to manage that stuff.
Yeah.
It's full of challenges. The life is risky, but it's full of challenges. That's what I like to live my life that way.
Everything's under your control except your income for the first while.
Yeah, that's just there.
The way I looked at it, at least, is if like we're all relatively young. You know, like you can start a career in your like mid-30s and still be like, you know, by the time you retire, you can be like senior management in any company if you start in the mid-30s, earning like really good money, have an unbelievable retirement, be very comfortable for life. So like there's a gap there of like 10 or 15 years between like college and like mid-30s, when like I think you really have to start considering that stuff. And you can afford to do, like, that's the way I look at this, at least, is that you can afford to take risks, and you can afford to take a year or two, do something like this. If it doesn't work out, like, it doesn't really make too big of a difference in the grand scheme of things. And along the way, then you've had the experience, and like you've learned all these skills that are going to make you better at like, and if you end up in an regular office job anyway, all the skills that you learn are going to make you way better at that job. So they might end up in 10 or 20 years you having a better outcome for yourself, even if you take a year or two to do stuff like this, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
there's like the kind of slight financial risk. I mean, I guess it's more for some or less for others.
Yeah,
but there's no real downside to it, unless, like, you know, if you were maybe saving for a house or something, you have a year there where that's affecting that.
Yeah.
But like in your career wise, you know, spending a year or two in your 20s or late 20s, it's worth more than the risks.
Yeah, that's true. And like you were saying, TJ, the potential upside is very high. Like if we do beat the odds and we get there, like
Yeah.
it's an exciting journey.
Yeah, like I completely agree. The age bracket of us being in 20 to 30s, we can take risk. It's like what to lose. There's nothing to lose. We can afford to stay broke. Like no one would bat an eye if we stay broke between 20 to 30s.
Yeah.
Definitely people would after 30 if we are still broke. People will be like, hey, this is your age to make money, what you're doing. But in 2030, no one really says anything. It doesn't matter. You can experiment every day. You can start something new every day.
Yeah.
It will just help you to keep learning and learning. And I guess that's the fun of life. You're still young. The blood is there to rush. You have a nice pump going on. You want to do something good in your life.
So importantly as well, like having something big in the future is grand, but to be honest, for me, it's more about like the journey of doing it.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what my own, like it would be great to, on two fronts, to like have loads of money and also to have built something that's like really cool and like, millions of people are using and all that stuff. But for me, it's, to be honest, more so about like the skills and like the journey and the challenges and stuff along the way, and kind of like, I don't know. I like the challenge, to be honest.
Yeah, you are working a lot more than you would be with a company, but it's a lot funner. Like it's more like you're working, everything you build. Like when you add a new feature to something, it's like you're doing that for yourself, for like your company or our company. So there's a lot more like gratification out of every bit of work you do. Not that it's not gratification when you work with, like you still get that kind of gratification when you work for a company, but it's more so when it's your own company.
Yeah, you got a sense of ownership, like, and that's like the kind of self-actualization you get out of that is quite good. If I'm using self-actualization in the right, I don't actually know what that means, but it feels like the right word.
Like
let's move on to the second thing which we should want to talk about is, so how did the idea of Connect Mór come into existence? Like I know you guys told me the story that you were already doing some airline startup business thing and you were working together, but how did you guys really come into the idea of getting a software company started, which is a marketing software company? Because you were not working in any marketing field back then, and you don't come from marketing background as well. So what's the story there?
Yeah, so like it's gonna sound like everything revolves around pubs, but I went for a pint in like, I don't know, like October 2018 with my friend Joe and his colleagues, and he was working at a marketing agency in Dublin at the time, and they with a focus on social media was like the main thing they did for their clients, and they were describing this. They're basically just like giving out about work, but they were saying how much time they spent whenever they onboarded a new client to the agency. They basically spend a good amount of time looking at all the clients' competitors' social media to figure out like a base level of marketing for their new client. So if they took on like an Italian restaurant, they actually do focus more on like footfall businesses, so like restaurants and stuff like that. I think they do shops now as well, but basically if you take on an Italian restaurant, they'd look at all the other Italian restaurants in Dublin, and that would be how they'd come up with a baseline strategy for their new client, and then they'd edit it as they learn. They customize the personality and like edit the posts and stuff to make them more unique to their business as they're growing. But the initial baseline is all done through competitive analysis, and they're doing that manually. Just like looking at like competitors, like Instagram feeds, like, oh yeah, this is the stuff they're posting. So it struck me as something that probably, one, it's a massive time sink to do that, because if you try to use the Facebook native interface to like look at someone's Facebook page and find the best post and all that, like it's a pretty awful process. It takes a lot of time, so it should be automated, and it would save a lot of time and therefore money, and they can manage more clients, or they could give better service to their existing clients because it's more exact as well. If it's automated and computed and stuff, it's more exact than just like hand and eye kind of like figuring it out. So that was kind of the premise. And anyway, essentially they were like, well, we don't have anything that can do that. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting.
I guess it's very important to have a team to back up you, and you're having a startup or you're making a company start from scratch, you really need to have a team to back up. You really need to have people who are backing you up and really there to support you and your ideas no matter what.
Mm.
Like you taking a big step in helping James and being a partner and leaving your good running job to get that idea substantial enough to start with it. It's a big step. And it's talking about team. Let's go into depth of it. So James or Brendan, any one of you want to talk about the people right now that who are working with you? I'm the one, I know, and there are other people there as well who I'm there on the podcast right now. But you want to talk about them?
Yeah, so I suppose there's so altogether there's kind of 6 people involved with Connect Mór. So basically the incubator we joined last August. It's called New Frontiers, and it's an Enterprise Ireland funded incubator, and it's based in MTU in Cork, so formerly CIT in Cork. Until this year, it's actually pretty funny because like everyone introduced it as blah blah blah. I'm from CIT MTU as like a thing. They're trying to correct themselves. But anyway, so basically we were in that, and then through the incubator we got an opportunity to kind of there's a few different projects with artificial intelligence components. There's like 12 companies in the incubator, and I think 9 had like some sort of AI component, because it's like the hot trend. So they came to an agreement with the AI Masters Coordinator to basically, they gave all our bios to that guy and was like, would any of your students be interested in doing a dissertation on the artificial intelligence of these companies? So I think 9 companies kind of said they'd be interested, and then we were kind of fortunate. 3 of the companies got selected, and we were fortunate to be one of them. So then I pitched to the AI master students the concept, and thankfully two brilliant people, Namrata and Shankar, who were doing the masters in MTU, they were interested enough in Connect Mór to kind of, we had a few conversations, and now they're finishing up their masters, and their dissertations are both on like 2 aspects of our artificial intelligence. So they're helping us. Shankar is helping us out with the prediction element, actually predicting how successful posts will be, and Namrata is helping us out with suggesting text to our clients. So based on how successful the historical posts are, we can figure out, the text components that make them successful, and then suggest those to our clients as ways of improving their own posts. Namrata is working on that. So that's 2 people, Shankar and Namrata. Then our other friend Sean, who for legal reasons we won't name his last name, he's basically he's a front end developer. You TJ as well, to be fair.
Yeah, TJ, you're great too.
Yeah, well, like it's meant like me and Brendan, obviously, we're full time at this, and we're like pretty married to it. But like for you, TJ, and Sean and Shankar and Namrata, like you're all part time, and it's not your baby as such, but all 4 you're absolutely brilliant at, like, what you do, and like the energy, and I don't know, it feels like you believe in the project, which is pretty nice, to be honest. And it's pretty great. And yeah, so that's the team. There's 6 of us basically, 2 full-time, 4 part-time, and everyone's class.
Yeah, it's good. Sometimes, yeah, you said it's definitely, kind of we're married to it. It's our baby. But then, sometimes when we're talking, like even to Shankar and you just kind of get that feeling that they're really interested in it as well. And it's not like it doesn't feel like anybody's just kind of doing it. Everybody feels like they're like, I don't know, sunk into it and believing it. So it's cool.
Because that's what I was saying in the starting up. You really have to have the team which is ready to back you up, who backs up the idea or the belief of the company. Because if you have people with you and who don't really believe in your idea or the company, then there's probably it's not good enough to go ahead with them. Because there would definitely be days where you would be feeling down and you would be like, something's wrong, something's not happening. Then you gotta have team members who are like, it's okay, it's gonna be all right. Probably give it a couple of days, we'll rectify the problem and move ahead with that.
Yeah.
So that's good. happy to be part of the great team and working towards it.
And thank you
So
for being
I
part
guess
of the great team as well.
it's just I wanted to know that I mean, you were talking about New Frontiers and all those incubators. So I wanted to know how what's the journey around being for Connect More? Like if I'm talking about any Irish startup, a new Irish startup. So how difficult or how easy it is for a company like Connect More to really get into the market, get in touch with investors, get funded or ideas? How's the opportunity around? What's the scenario there?
Um, sorry, I don't want to go first for like every question, but
Yeah,
uh,
I guess you deal with most of the business side of stuff, so that I mean probably makes more sense to that. So I mean, from my experience, it actually I don't know, not to count door. It's kind of easier than you'd think to like get in touch with people like outside of before like being involved with business and stuff. You know, you're thinking like, how do you even get in touch with investors? How does that even work? But it's just all like you just meet people and you end up chatting to people like randomly, or you have a connection through somebody, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know these guys" or whatever.
yeah, I'd say from my experience, like it's so Ireland is because you get very polluted with the US mindset and the outlook. Because if you look stuff up online, you're probably going to get like 9 out of 10 sources are people in the US, on Google or on YouTube or whatever. But in Ireland, we actually have a great like network of like public funding for startups. So all the major universities, colleges have like incubators that are somewhat funded. I know in Trinity, right, there's like the Tangent program. I don't know if they have other stuff as well.
Yeah,
In UCC, which was my college, there's the Ignite program, which is it's like a year long program, and you get like a small amount of funding, but you get like support and access to the network and all that. Enterprise Ireland run incubators in like I think there's like 10 or 12 of them, or there could even be more, to be honest, in different universities and colleges called like New Frontiers, which is what we were part of. And there's like there's phase one, which is not funded, but it's just like part time in the evenings, from like an initial concept to like start building out like marketing and start validating the idea. And then this phase two, which we did, which is like you get like €15,000 for 6 months, and they don't take any equity in the business. And then you basically they take you from like an idea kind of phase. Like we joined that, we were pretty much an idea phase. We had some like proof of concept, like tech, but like it wasn't anywhere near a product. And then we kind of in 6 months we did a lot of market research, talked to a lot of people, developed the product out more. And kind of for me, as being an engineer with no business background, like they put on workshops that are quite useful around like marketing, financials, like products, like how to do B2B sales was one of the workshops that was quite useful. Like digital marketing, I don't know, there's tons of supports and stuff, and that's all completely free. They actually pay you 15 grand for the 6 months, and there's like I'm going to say between 10 and 15 of those incubators in the country, and they all take on like 10 or so companies once a year. So like that's there's 100 odd 150 companies going through those each year, which is pretty good. And then yeah, there's other like stuff as well. Like there's the NDRC that you can go on to after, which got recently taken over by Dogpatch Labs, the Republic of Work, and the Porterhouse in Galway, and the regional or the RDI in Kerry, Regional Development Innovation. I actually don't know what RDI means. Probably not. But yeah, I don't know. There's loads of public and private funding for startups, to be honest. Like I can't really speak to like in terms of getting the initial like seed investment from angel investors and stuff like that. I've heard that there's less seed investment money around at the moment due to COVID. But I don't actually know any figures based on that. That's just like what people mentioned. But I do think that venture capital firms are actually I don't want to actually, this is like a podcast, it's like records, so I don't want to just like say hearsay, but without having figures, but I think VCs are actually increasing their investments, but a lot of the time they're doubling down on their existing investments rather than investing in new things, because those companies needed like extra cash during COVID. But there's definitely still opportunity. And then
there's also a number of grants for businesses to become, I guess, digitized, or what's the main one that
the trading online voucher.
trading online voucher? Yeah, so that's like a brick and mortar shop, that doesn't have an online presence. They can get $2.5 grand, basically become online, and that all translates, because that would go to marketers then use our product. So there's a lot of kind of money there in the kind of especially in Ireland, the marketing kind of sphere.
Exactly. Also, if you like, okay, if you are watching this podcast, like I'm happy to have a chat with anyone. I'm sure Brendan and TJ probably are as well, about like, I don't know who's going to be watching this podcast, but if you are anything to start your business, then like feel free to reach out, get on to us, and
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But on the setting up companies thing, there's actually as well, I forgot to mention the local enterprise offices, which are actually a massive help. So that's how you get, I think that might actually be, you get the trading online voucher through the local enterprise office. Maybe, I'm not sure. But they do different grants as well. So you can kind of like get up to like 10 grand as like a feasibility grant, like 5 grand and then 5 grand as a feasibility grant. And that's basically for pre-approved type of stuff, like getting a prototype built or like doing market research, that sort of thing. And then if you have some sales, you can get like a priming grant, which I think is like in certain circumstances up to like 150 grand or something. But like the standard one is like up to like 17 or 20 grand, or I don't know, something. Essentially, there's like tons of money that you can get for free, or else like it'll be match funded. So like basically the local enterprise office or Enterprise Ireland will like cover like half the cost. Like the local enterprise office and Enterprise Ireland are two distinct groups. Like they're not, I don't think they're like, they're both government funded, I guess, but like they're not like, they don't work together as such. But if you're getting money off one, you can't get money off the other. But I just get mixed up about who supplies which grants and stuff, because it's quite like, generally the bigger stuff is Enterprise Ireland and the smaller stuff is local enterprise office. More.
You guys were talking about social media and facts. One of the facts I read actually was that that average a person spends around 5 years of their life on social media, and that's pretty shocking. And to read more of these facts, you can go to Connect Mór's Instagram page or Twitter page or LinkedIn page, because we have our Fact Friday series, which presents to you the social media facts every Friday, so you get to know more about social media. So being I guess everything we have talked about, how the whole situation is and how Connect Mór has been running around its operations, managing everything in and out of it. So just wanted to know, what are you guys like when it comes down to personal routing? What are your visions for Connect Mór in the coming years? Where do you see the company going? What are your goals that you think Connect Mór should achieve in the coming months or whatever the time frame is?
I'd like TJ to start with this one.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one.
What do you see it as, TJ?
Well, I think
we had here, but like
we had a conversation about this some time back. We were discussing, and James actually asked each one of us and about the goals which they think should be related to Connect Mór. And I said that there were a couple of goals actually which I thought should be the top ones. One is obviously it's a monetary thing, that is more like achieving or obtaining around probably 15 to 20 paying customers in the time frame of next couple of months, because irrespective of whatever you're doing, you need the customers, you need the paying customers to keep your business going, because they are going to pay your bills at the end of the day. No one else is. Irrespective, even if you get the funding or investments, they are also based on you guys getting customers in and paying for your services. The second most important goal for me was that we shouldn't be just like a company out there who's just selling its products and services. We have to be a company who believes in creating value for their customers, be it educational value, be it in terms of the content we put on social media or a website. For instance, this podcast, the series, we have started this podcast just for the whole idea, the theme of podcast is to create value for people. We're gonna try getting in the following days, in the following podcast, getting guests on our show, and try to have their knowledge presented to you guys, to who are watching a podcast, so that they know what's really happening in the industry, what's the trend, what's the stats. So it's more about just not selling Connect More's product. Obviously, that's the first thing we do, but that's just not the image which we want to put out there in the world. Our image is, it's just not a selling company, but it's a company which you can trust on as a consumer, as a user, even if you're not buying our products, but you definitely can incur a lot of value if you go through our content. That's what I guess my goals are. Over to you guys, whatever you guys think.
On Brendan, what's your?
Yeah, so I guess like my short-term goals are, pretty much the same as that. It's to get some paying customers to kind of solidify, us as an actual company, a product that people use. But my long-term goals is to be, I guess like a major player, to be, I guess like a global brand.
Mhm.
That would be the kind of the long-term 5 or 10 year goal. Like as a company, it's nice that when we run our own company, you get to kind of decide the way we do things, and it's kind of, I guess, cliche or whatever that the tech companies, they're always like, want to make the world a better place and do this, but I'd like to run a company that's very company focused, or like like really good for the employees, um you know good wages with wherever we can, and good services for the employees. Like that's kind of my goal, to be, I guess, a good company. um James.
Cool. Yeah, I guess like short. Well, I guess we've all, like, to be fair, we've all discussed this before, so we're probably all on the same page with
Yeah.
short-term goals. So yeah, I like ideally by the end of June. So it's currently, for reference, April 18th. We'd like to have close to 100 users and have a subset of those paying us, even like honestly one or two. Yeah, I'd take. And then what that sets us up for the rest of the year is that, one, we've got some early signs of like some, if we have about 100 users, we have that are actually, hopefully a subset of them that are using it for free or paying us, or not paying us, sorry, but actually using it like, regularly. And that, with a few paying users, kind of gives us some early traction where we can go after seed investment. It also gives us like data that we can plan features for, and it solves a lot of problems. Of course, like obviously we're building a product, we want people to use the product, and that's our, that's the short term goal, is to get more people using it and a couple of them paying us. Longer term, so in the short term, we're making our product, I think mostly right now the idea is that we're making it for agencies, right? The initial premise of the business, and something that I think we'd all quite like to do, is make a product that SMEs can use. So with no prior digital marketing experience, you can come onto the platform and basically have like a social media strategy generated for you automatically, and you can just execute it with like a click. That's one. It's very powerful, and is like, if we do that well, like that makes us an incredibly strong company. But it's also quite like nice, to be honest, to be able to do that, because there is all these people, like, throw it back a few minutes ago, but like there is all these people who have to use digital media and social marketing that don't know how to use it, and they had businesses that operate through footfall and in person and stuff quite well. It's nice to be able to give those people tools, where they can adapt better to the changing environment. And then, yeah, like longer term, so like I'd like to build a product that actually does that, say in the next 18 months. Longer term, yeah, if I think I have in like some financial forecasts that we want to hit like €1 billion revenue in like about 8 years, which would be nice. And there's no reason that like if you look at all the existing companies in this space, their adoption of like artificial intelligence is pretty poor. for what they do and what in the space they operate in. So I think there's a lot of vulnerability there. Hello, anyone who works for these companies that sees this podcast in a few years. We told you. But yeah, like there's a lot of vulnerability there, and also the market's so big. Like I think the social media analytics software, like as a market, in 2019 was valued like, this is before COVID, was valued at like $4 billion globally at the end of 2019, and it was expected by 2025 to be worth about $16 billion globally. So it's like a 4x increase in the market. So even like, you know, the companies that have the largest market share at the moment are going to be very small compared to the companies that have the largest market share in, you know, 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot of opportunity there for growth. It's near infinite, to be honest. If you can get the product right and you get the marketing, you figure out what people want to use the product we've created most, and then just target those people, marketing, advertising, you know, make them aware of the product and what it can do and how it can help them, and then grow from there, you know.
I'll tell to people who are watching this, I've been like, I don't have a very biased approach towards it or anything like that. I've been working with Connect Mór for 3 months now and wish to work for a longer time ahead. But I'll say the company is, the whole idea, principles is focused on customers. It's nothing like, it's not like another tech company which would say, okay, we have created a product and now we're gonna sell it no matter what. If there's any problem with it or if it has any scope for improvement, we don't care. But Connect Mór does really do that. It is a tool. It's asking you guys, like right now in a closed beta version, you can still go to our website, you can still try on our products, and if you think that there's something needs to be added, there's something needs to be removed, so a product or feature which would help you in the future, you can connect with us. You can send us a mail, message, anything on the website. Let us know that you want this, and we'll be there, because for us, customers are the first thing. We want to create a product for you, not just a product out there as compared to other competitors who are already there. But it's more focused on you guys and the people who need it, just because you guys are important, just because customers are important. And that's how the idea of startup should work around. That's how we differ from a big company where they actually at some point stop focusing on customers because they are so big in numbers. But as a startup, as an early venture, if you keep that idea ahead of you and you think of it, okay, that we really need customers game A1, then I guess that's a really good point to start with.
Yeah, that's the huge advantage that we have at this stage, is that, you know, every feature we put in, it's you know, based on feedback from, you know, when somebody uses it and they're like, okay, this would be good. Oh, I like this, you know. So like the customers that are involved kind of at this stage have a huge input into the way the kind of the product is designed and kind of made.
I guess that's we have pretty much talked about from A to Z of Connect Mór, how it started, how you guys started, how it's been going on, the whole journey, the process right now, and obviously what's ahead in the future, the terms, the visions, and goals. That's gonna be very interesting with whoever's gonna be watching this podcast. I know there won't be many people since it's a first podcast and we don't expect much to happen. That we have 1,000 people watching it, sharing it. Probably not that much, but we have. That's what the idea of podcast series ahead it's gonna be. We're gonna be creating value for you people. We're gonna be talking about all that stuff which matters to you guys. It's nothing gonna be about Connect Mór because we have our website and social media to do that. This podcast is just gonna be for helping you guys to know what's happening in the market, stats or anything. And to further know more about us, you can definitely go to our website. That's www.connectmore.ie, and definitely follow us on our social media channels.
But it's not about that.
It's not about that. Probably this bit end, but not in the future.
Yeah, for anybody, I guess, that does want to know anything or even want, I mean, about any of the stuff we discussed today, you know, the funding or the grants, you know, you could leave us a comment on Twitter or any of our social media or whatever, or even on our WordPress site.
Just to help you guys, we'll leave some links below.
Links in the description.
When we
like and subscribe.